Hi, I'm Jawan Simpson and welcome back to Speak Up. Now for today's topic, I'd like to talk to you about something that is not particularly fun, but it is something that we need to discuss nevertheless. Now in our society, as young persons or even just as individuals in general, we find that something is taking over in our society. And it is something that I've been hearing about for the longest while, and especially within my field of work, I find that I come across these situations even more than the usual person. And it is the issue of our young women and even young boys being taken advantage of or being abused physically, emotionally, or whatever way it might be. Now, it is mind-boggling to me to really think about the fact that, you know, somebody who's put to be in charge of persons, you know, to take care of them, to nurture them, to feed them, whatever it might be, you know, just to ensure that they're being taken care of. Their well-being, you know, should be the number one thing or the number one priority. And you find that these persons are the ones that are most likely to abuse or to take advantage of these young persons or take advantage of these individuals in their lifetime. And I doubt they know the repercussions of this. I doubt they understand that if it is that you abuse a female or abuse a young male, even in their earlier ages, you know, even from the age of 10 to let's say 18 thereabout, it is something that can impact them for the rest of their lives. And I mean impact them in such a significant way that you take away more than half of their life away, because it is something that they think about constantly. It's something that prevents them from entering into serious relationships. It is something that prevents them from focusing properly in school. It is something that prevents them from being human beings on a whole and be able to enjoy life just the same way as other persons are able to enjoy life. Now, I'd like to say this to our young men out there, or to our older men out there who are taking advantage of our young females or even our males. You know, for a young female to look sexy, it doesn't mean that she's ready for sex. Whatever perverse way of thinking you have within your mind, you should know personally whether or not you have certain thoughts or have certain desires. And I suggest that you try and get that sorted out as soon as possible. Try and get counseling, try and get prayer, try and get released from whatever sick or perverse thoughts you might have within yourself. And you just have to be honest with yourself, you know, because it is something that will hold you back. It is something that will prevent you from being a human in terms of, you know, being caring towards each other enough to not want to harm somebody else. And that's just one of the things that I can't figure out until this day. You know, how is it that we feel comfortable in a society that supports these things? Because we see in movies, we hear it in the songs, we see it in the books. A lot of perverseness has been at the top of our list, you know, and these are the things that we use to promote our music. These are the things that we use to promote our movies. These are the things that we use to promote our books and use to promote even our status as individuals, you know. So we post a lot of things on social media and we feel as if it's supposed to get a lot of traction because of the perverse things in which we've been saying, you know, and it has been destroying the way in which our human population has been, you know, interpreting or digesting this information. A lot of persons aren't mature enough or just not equipped enough to, you know, dissect certain information and know how to apply it to their personal lives. So they hear a certain song and they apply it to whatever perverse thoughts they've already had within their minds, and so they express themselves and feel as though it is okay. I know of cases where persons have been abused by their very parents who have basically physically they brought them on this earth, you know, and they have been abused by these persons, and it is something that becomes even more traumatic, you know, knowing that it is somebody that actually has the responsibility or was given the duty of taking care of you as an individual, and that is the person that actually turned around to break you as an individual. I find it heartbreaking. It is something that we need to address. A lot of persons have been trying to address it. We have a lot of organizations out there. We have E for Life, and shout out to E for Life. You know, E for Life has been doing a lot of work in this field. We have other organizations out there, you know, that have been trying to work to actually put a stamp on this. But to be honest, there's a whole lot more work that needs to be done. We have marches that take place, you know, persons protest about these things. It is something that we talk about for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks tops, and then it goes back to normal. You know, so we curse out the dirty old man for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then within the 4th week, it has been something that has become normalized again. And we turn our attention from it. Perhaps we say we can't bother, and the reason why we would say that we can't bother is because perhaps we haven't heard enough stories about these things taking place. It is perhaps because we don't have as much at stake as we think we do. But I can tell you this much: for us to be living in a society that this thing is becoming a normalized thing, it then puts everyone at risk. It doesn't matter if you're living uptown or you're living downtown. These things are taking place in our homes. These things are taking place in our societies. These things are taking place in our environments. These things are taking place in schools. These things are taking place in the jobs. These things are taking place in the church. These things are taking place all over. And it's for us not to have this as a taboo topic anymore, but for us to speak up and speak loudly. Let's call out whoever is committing these crimes. Let's call out whoever finds comfort in destroying the lives of our young people. Our young people need our protection. We are the ones that are put in charge of them to take care of them, whether mentally or physically. And so we have to come to the forefront, and we have to represent them well, and we have to show them that we care about them. We have to show them that despite whatever issues they have gone through, we are here for them, we are here to support them. And just for everybody out there, just for anybody out there that has been abused or feels as if they're in a situation that is abusive, I want to hope that you will someday gain the courage to speak up about it. I won't be afraid to address the issue however I can as an individual. And if it is that you feel more comfortable talking to somebody else about it, then go ahead and talk to that person right now about it, so that these persons can be called out and the issue can be dealt with. Now, another thing that we have as an issue is that when these things are reported, they aren't treated in a serious manner. This is not me calling out persons within the law. You know, it is just me speaking up on the basis of things that I've seen happen, things that I've heard happen, and it is just something that cannot continue. It cannot be a case where persons have found the boldness within their hearts to speak up about certain things or to report certain things happening, and then the persons that are supposed to take over the case, or at least supposed to investigate, are then making a prejudgment that, hey, this is not the case. You weren't raped, you weren't abused, or you were abused because you were wearing a short skirt or whatever it might be. We cannot go down that path to prejudge persons as to why it is that they were abused. We have to become defenders of our own young people. We have to become defenders of our own human race. We have to defend each other. We have to support each other. And we have to come to the realization that this affects us all. It affects us all. It doesn't matter if you think that it's not in your household. It doesn't matter if you don't think that it's in your church. It doesn't matter if you don't think that it's in your school. It doesn't matter if you don't think that it's in your office space. It is affecting persons in and around these areas. And you will be surprised to see the amount of persons that have actually been abused. You'll be surprised to know the persons that are actually the perpetrators of this action. You'll be surprised just to find out some persons that you've spoken to nicely. You wouldn't believe that they've been perpetrators of this action. You wouldn't believe that some of these persons that you've been talking to, and they seem so happy and joyful, you wouldn't believe that they have been abused, perhaps numerous times. Because what we find happening is that there's a recurrence of abuse for some persons that have been abused, and this is due to, for me, just applying the profession to it now. And I say that at times what happens is that because a certain individual has been abused, and this has been, let's say, reported. Let's say the individual speaks up and say, mommy, you know that so and so abused me. Mommy might not believe, and so mommy might share the story with somebody else, or mommy might believe and mommy share the story with somebody else, and that individual in which mommy shared the story with was just not a trustworthy person, and so that individual feels as though they have the power now to, alright then, yeah man, let me try my thing. Let me try my thing on this individual. And even in cases where parents don't believe when the children come to them and tell them that these things are taking place, what we find happening is that other persons might realize that the parent doesn't care, or the parent is naive to a certain extent, and so they take advantage of the individual as well. And so it becomes an issue where more than one person or persons are actually, you know, damaging the future or damaging the present even for this individual, for this young individual that hasn't come to know the world as yet, hasn't come to, you know, experience certain things in life as yet. And so these experiences damages the future for our young individuals. And this is why we see people walking around broken. This is one of the reasons why we see people walking around broken. This is one of the reasons why persons are afraid to commit. This is one of the reasons why you have persons out there being promiscuous. This is one of the reasons why you have persons lacking confidence within themselves. This is one of the reasons why you find persons having low self-esteem, because they feel as though somehow, some way, it was their fault. And what we have circulating in our social media space right now, or in our environment at times, is that if it is that you are dressed a certain way, then you are deserving of whatever treatment it is that you get. While I'm not in support of dressing in a manner that exposes the body, I don't believe that because of how you are dressed, then that means that you should be raped, or that means that you should be assaulted, or whatever it might be. I believe that as men, as women even, because that's one of the things that we don't mention, that women are also perpetrators. You know, women take advantage of our young boys, take advantage of our young girls, and that's one of the things that we don't mention in our society anymore. That's one of the things that remain taboo. That's one of the things that keep us far away from true knowledge, or far away from understanding the issues that surround us really and truly. You know, we need to speak up more. We need to be more knowledgeable about the things that are taking place. We need to educate our students. We need to educate our children. We need to educate everyone within our society as it relates to these issues, because these things are affecting us. And if it is that we lack knowledge in this area, then it is that more will continue to happen. More persons will continue to take advantage of our young people. More persons will continue to break down the individuals in which they feel as though they don't have much power. You have persons that will break down an individual psychologically first, and then they attack them physically. They might just have them believe that, hey, they're not worth anything, and then it is that they might just attack them physically, perhaps rape, or perhaps some other emotional sort of abuse. And these are the things that we need to speak up about. These are the things that we really need to end right now in our society. It cannot continue as it has been going on. The numbers for rape, to me, it seems to be getting higher. It's just a matter of persons not reporting the rape cases as much as they should be reporting the rape cases. And that's due to them not feeling as though justice is ever served, for them, to be honest. You know, in certain cases you find that justice is served, but in other cases these things are pushed to the side, and the victims are treated as though they are the perpetrators. You know, they're treated as though it is their fault as to why they were raped or abused, and it simply cannot continue. To everyone that perhaps might have been abused, raped, molested, whether as a young child or even now, if you're going through it now, as I said, if it is that you want the contact for any other person or any other organization that I know of that deals with this issue, I'll surely leave the information for them right below this video, and you can go ahead and contact them. If it is that you've been contemplating whether or not you should speak up about something that has been affecting you, I urge you right now, speak up about it. The psychological impact of whatever has taken place in your life might just be lessened by the fact that you actually spoke up about it, that you actually named the perpetrator. These things really do help. As it pertains to other persons out there who have not been in situations such as this, join me in speaking up about things such as this. Don't be afraid to speak about it. Don't be afraid to call out the perpetrators. We must represent our children. We must represent humanity in general. And that's it. Much love. God bless. This has been Speak Up, Jamal Simpson.